All right, we're going to walk through all of the lines of this A country form. I'm going to start off with line 1. I'm based out of what I'd call an E form of the A chord, so 5th fret. And I'm going to basically go up almost a pentatonic. So this is a major pentatonic, the major pentatonic. Okay, so I'm going to do like this. I'm going to do some connecting notes that are chromatic. I'm going to start root, so A, B, C, C sharp. So that's a E, F sharp, E. And then I'm going to slide up. Now I'm going to go into a classic little country line, but this first part is a great little line by itself. Then I'm going to take it, this sort of country thing that you hear all the time. I'm doing 6, but I'm going to do them up off of the D string and the B string. So I'm going to do C sharp A, which is like an A chord. B G, which is like a G chord. A F sharp, which is like a D chord. G E, which is like an A7 chord, which is what I'm outlining. Okay, so all right, so I start. All right, and you notice I'm using my my fingers over here on the right hand. Makes it a lot quicker. All right, second part of this then. So I'm going to do notes D and F sharp, C and E, and hammer on to an A note. And then I'm going to do A note. Here's the full line. All right, that's line 1. All right, here's line 2 now. It's going to start out of the pentatonic, and it's sort of the minor pentatonic that I'm playing out of. And it's common for country guys to shift between the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic. Okay, so I'm going to be sort of out of the minor pentatonic. And I'm going to do this bend note. These bends are great. You have to get them exact. If you're a little bit off, you hear they'll sound really bad. Good practice for this is just to do. Okay, so just do it chromatically up. That'll really help you to get those, nail those notes. Cool little line out of the minor pentatonic. This pull off is really nice, and I'm landing on the flat 5 note, which is my E flat note. So A, G, E, E flat, and then back to the E. You hear that a lot with rock and roll. Guys do that all the time. And then I'm going to do from the E flat pull offs, E flat, D, C. Again, great classic rock riff. Okay, so which we've already done that. I'm doing it with my two fingers here on the right hand, if you notice. D and F sharp, like a little D chord. You hear this all the time in the blues. Right, so. And then C, E, hammer on to C sharp, to A. And then down the pentatonic. And then instead of going, I'm going to go to the C sharp note since I'm in like an A7 chord. So. Slide out. 2, 3, 4. It's line 2. All right, then this is going to be line 3. It's going to be out of a D9 chord, and I'm going to do, it's a Larry Carlton trick. He was a great studio session guitar player in the 70s and 80s, one of the most recorded guys ever. And all he does is he takes from the root note, he's going to go up third, 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 third. So D up to third is a F sharp, up a minor third is A, third C, third E, third G, third B. All right. Quick note on this. When I go up, I'm going to do basically like, that's a D chord. That's an F minor 7 flat 5 chord. That's an A minor chord. That's a C chord. That's an E minor chord. So I'm really going through a bunch of different triads on this thing. And the cool thing about that is, if I get this sound, you can play all these different tonalities over top of it, and it's going to sound really cool. It's sort of stretches the harmony a little bit. So like, for instance, playing a C chord over top of a D chord is a really nice type of sound on that. All right, so that's basically what's going to happen. I'm going to just go D, F sharp, A, C, E, which by the way is also I feel good. Ow, I feel good. Okay, so that's my line. So I just go up the scale. I'm in D7. D7 is basically the 5 chord of, if you go backwards, D, C, B, A, G. I'm in the key of G, which means I have 1 sharp, F sharp. So when I play out of D7, I'm playing basically a G scale or the D mixolydian mode. Okay, so anyhow. All right, see that line? Pull off from B, which is the 13, down to the 5th. Okay? All right, so even if you're in like a blues, it's a really great sort of sounding line. All right, that's line 3. Now line 4 is going to come out of the sort of bebop tradition, so more of like a jazz type of tradition. And what we're going to do is a lot of chromatic notes. All right, so I'm thinking out of, there's my D7. And there's my D note. So I've got these important notes here. going to do a lot of chromaticism. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do encapsulation, which means you surround a note by two notes, most of the time chromatic notes, but they're surrounded on either side. So for instance, if it's a C note, you'd have a B note and a D note on either side of it. You're encapsulating. Or I'm going to do chromatic passing notes, which means if I'm going from C to D, I'd do C, C sharp, D. Okay, so chromaticism. I'm going to start off here with a G note, and I'm going to go G, F sharp, E. So again, I'm encapsulating the this F sharp note. Sorry, G, F, F sharp, G, F, F sharp, okay? And then down to the 1. And you hear that again, this is that same sort of, okay? So G, F, F sharp, B, and then I'm going to do chromatic down to C, which is my flat 7. Down to my A note. This is where things are going to get funky. Okay, I've got these two notes, A and C, which are part of my D7 chord, okay? And I'm going to do, if I do these two notes, you can hear how they work one into the other. B, and this is sort of out of, there's a guy named Pat Martino, and his basic concept, he was a jazz guy, and again, this comes from more the bebop scale, bebop school, but a lot of country guys end up using the bebop stuff. His concept is this: if I'm in D, that's the 5 chord of G, like we had talked about, but in that scale, you also have the 2 chord in the key of G, which is A minor, and he always liked to think in minor scale. So he's going to think over D7 like a bebop line out of A minor, and it's a great sounding thing when you land on these A minor notes over top of this D chord. Okay, so now I'm going to do B, G sharp, A, B, C, D, E, G. Okay, so that's a big encapsulation. G, E, F, F sharp. And you notice my weird fingering there? Okay, so. And I'm ending on, a lot of times ending on the 3rd or the 5th is a really good place to go on these chords. You hear how cool that sound is, so. Great, like bebop sounding line. That's line 4. All right, line 5 is like an old school country thing. I'm doing 6, so I'm starting here. This is like out of an E form of the D chord, F sharp and D. So I'm sliding down to like a C chord, like a G chord, and like a D9 chord or an A minor chord. E, C, D, B, C sharp, A. I'm using, if you notice up here, I'm using my, and that makes it pop a little bit more. Makes it a little bit spankier. Listen to the difference. You hear that sort of spank of the popping. And then I'm going to do, I'm in this D7. I'm going to do like a major minor type of pentatonic. So slight F, not quite up to F sharp, and then to D. like I'm in my pentatonic. And then I'm going to do a mix of major and minor pentatonics. There's my major pentatonic. I'm going to do like this. So I've got B, D, B, F, B, D. So this is the line. All right, line 5. All right, line 6 is a great country nasty thing. I'm gonna back to an A7 chord. I'm gonna get a C sharp on the top, but I'm gonna bend. You know, oftentimes rockers, they'll bend there. I've got a C sharp note though because I'm in A7, but I'm gonna bend from my flat 7 up to the A note. So it'll end up with the notes A and C sharp, but from the flat 7. So A, G, F sharp, E, G, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, and I'm going to do pull off, pull off, pull off, slide, I mean. Oh, sorry, I picked the D note and then slide down. Then I'm going to go into the minor pentatonic feel. So I'm bending from my D up to E, so I get those two notes. And when I pick that, I'm using my middle finger. So actually, I'm doing that with these two fingers. And then pull off, pull off. So ending. Sort of the minor pentatonic thing. Line 6. Okay, line 7 is going to be really cool. What I'm doing is I'm breaking up my different triads, almost like the Larry Carlton thing we talked about before. Where I'm going up by thirds, but I'm going to sort of do this in triads. So I'm going to do major, minor, major, minor, major, minor from these different chords. I'm going to do an A major. So I've got that's like the Bach cello suite thing. Okay. A, E, C sharp. Then I'm going to do C sharp. And I'm going to do C sharp, A, E. Which is like, again, the stack of an A chord, A, C sharp, and E, but as C sharp, A, E. Then I'm going to do like a little E minor chord, E, B, G, and I'm doing pick, pick, second finger. Then I'm going to go to a G chord, G, D, B. And up to an A chord, which is A, E, C sharp. All right, so cool. Then I'm going to sort of go from, this is another like Larry Carlton-y type thing, where I'm going to do like an A chord to a G chord over an A7. And you hear those cool tonalities over it. So it's like a little D chord shape there. And I'm doing D, C sharp, A, E. Then I'm going to do a pull off from my G note. G, F sharp, E, D. And then I'm going to do a long chromatic from C sharp, which is my third of my A7. I'm going all the way up to the fifth and then back down. All right, so. And that note there, the B note, is going to lead me into this next line. So. All right, that's line 7. Line 8, so I ended up on that B note there. I'm going to do a series of double stops. They're going to be really easy though, but I'm going to be using these 2 fingers for the B and G string, my pick for the D string, and I'm going to do a pull off from the notes E, G sharp, down to D, F sharp. It's like an E chord into a D chord again, which is the sound we've been getting, the root chord down to the flat 7 chord for these A7 chords. And then to the B note. So this is your basic sound of the thing. And I'm going to do this. No pull off there. So the notes E, E flat, and G. And then D, F sharp, down to C, E, which is again that same sort of tonality of root, flat 7. Because I'm going from an E7 chord down to a D chord. Okay. All right, and that's line 8. Line 9 is going to be a series of double stops throughout. So I'm in an A7 chord again. I'm going to go chromatically down a half step from like a little A7 chord. If you see the E, G, C sharp, E, A, so E flat, G, D, F sharp, C, E, and A. Then, which we've done a number of times before, D, F sharp, G, C, E, and then hammer on to C sharp. Again, we've done this line, so it's the blue note on the pentatonic. They call it the blues scale sometimes. A, G, E, E flat, C. And normally you'd end there, but I want to get up to this E note because that's the turnaround. So I'm going to do C, C sharp, A, D, A, E flat, A, E, which puts me on that turnaround. And when I do these, I'm doing pick, finger, pick, finger, pick, finger, pick, finger. And these are with these 2 fingers. Pick, fingers, pick, fingers, pick, fingers, pick, 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 pick. Boom. It's line 9. All right, for line 10, I'm going to switch from my my bridge pickup into my neck pickup, get a little bit warmer sound, and I'm going to do a pentatonic. It's like a 14th position pentatonic, major pentatonic. That means your fourth finger on the root note. And I'm going to go right up from C, E, F sharp, A. And I'm going to bend from that B up to the C sharp. Then I'm going to do a double stop. I'm going to do C and E. But I'm going to bend that C almost up to a C sharp, but not quite. So I'm going into the minor pentatonic then. And that's a thing that guys do oftentimes. They'll go back and forth between the major and the minor pentatonic. Line 10. Okay, line 11 is going to be out of the minor pentatonic, but a different position of it. So I'm still in A. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to bend a lot of these notes. So I'm going to do, instead of C, I'm going to actually go up to the C sharp note, which sounds like a major pentatonic bend. And then I'm going to go down to this G note. So B up to C sharp. And then I'm going to do these bends where I go F sharp up to G. These are from a guy named Mike Landau. He's a great session guy from LA. So F sharp up to G, back to F sharp, E, D, E, and then I'm going to do C, but I'm going to bend it slightly, not quite to the C sharp. And then I'm going to slide back up to the major pentatonic like I did before to C sharp. So C sharp, E, F sharp, and then I'm going to do C natural, F, A. So again, I'm getting that. Like that major and minor mix of stuff. So line 11. All right, for line 12, I'm going to switch back to my bridge pickup. Listen to the difference, just so you hear this. I'll switch to bridge. A lot twankier. Okay, so I'm going to be in a. I'm on the D chord now. I'm going to basically be in my D major pentatonic, and I'm going to start off with a bend since I've been doing similar bends. Which sounds sort of like a G major scale bend, but so I'm doing A up to B, D, and then I'm going to do a chromatic thing where I do E up to F sharp, then F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Then a really cool country riff. So it's basically out of a D7, and I'm going to use these opens. I'm going to do A, F sharp, open E, C, open B, A, open G, F sharp. It's a really cool line. You leave them all ring together, and I'm doing middle finger pick, middle finger pick, middle finger pick, middle finger pick. So over. That's a Jerry Donahue line, by the way. Great, great country guitar player. So. All right, line 13 is like a Brad Paisley thing. He often uses these open sort of sounds. So he gets those sort of sounds, and they sound really, really fabulous. They're cool sounding, and they're fast sounding. You know. This one though, I'm going to just do straight pull offs. So I'm going to do D, G, C, G, A, D, A flat, D, G, D. And then I'm going to do a hammer on from F to F sharp. I'm over a D chord incidentally on this, so I'm going to go to the F sharp note. So D, A, C. So A, E, A flat, E, G, and that again is that major minor mix over a D7 chord. I'm doing F sharp, A, and C. So the first one has that nasty, like a C up to almost C sharp M. That's line 13. All right, line 14 is a basic pentatonic, but it's got some chromaticism to it. So I'm going to start off with a roll. Let me play the line. It's a cool little line. Starting off with a roll from G, G sharp, A, C, A, D, A, E flat, E, G. And back to the E again. A, G, C, A, D, C, C, D, E flat, E, E flat, D, C, G, G sharp, A. I might have missed one note in there, but it's line 14. Okay, line 15 is sort of a Steve Morse type of sound. He's a great guitar player from the group the Dixie Dregs. He gets this sort of rolling. These aren't straight steals, by the way. For most of the lines, they just have the feel of these guitar players. Morse always did this sort of like choppy. He just had this really great sort of sense of rolling through stuff. So I'm going to start from the note F sharp, G, G sharp, E, and this is over top of an E chord, and I'm basically doing like this. So F sharp, E, G sharp, E, F sharp, D, E, C sharp, D, B. But I'm going to roll into each of these chromatically. So I'm going to do F sharp, G, G sharp, then E, F, F sharp, and then D, D sharp, E, C sharp. So I'm going to roll this one backwards. And again, it's that. All right, line 16 is sort of like an old rockabilly type of thing. It's right out of the minor pentatonic. I'm on my D chord, but I'm going to do these added notes. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to do like C, B, A, and I'm going to keep that pattern through all three of these. younger guys will get that sort of sound. I'm going to do all pull-offs. I could pick it, but it has, you know, this it has a little bit different sound than, sort of has a clean slickness to it. It has that 50s kind of sound that's really nice. So over this. And again, bend that thing just a little bit. Line 16. All right, and if you made it all the way to line 17, congratulations. This one is going to be a really interesting line for you. It's a pattern line, many of them are, but this is sort of a geometrical pattern. Basically, here's what I'm doing though. If you take the pentatonic, and I do 2 on a string, 3 on a string, it's an old Frank Gambale idea. So he has a really fast way of getting through lines like that. So if I do 2, 3, 2, 3, I can get a really quick line going up. Now, what I'm going to do though is, because I'm on an A7 instead of an A minor, so I've got the C sharp note, I am going to raise the third of all these minor pentatonics. I'm going to make it into what I call a dominant pentatonic scale. 5-note scale. Okay, that's my basic pattern then. All right, as soon as you play that, you start sounding like Jeff Beck. It's a real Jeff Becky sound. Now, I'm going to switch it and I'm going to make it a little bit more like Steve Morse sound. I'm going to do chromatic on this. And then I'm going to get 3, 3. So it gets that really like quick. All right, so. And now, since I'm on like an E7 chord, I'm going to go from this G note to G sharp. It's that same. I'm going to go G to G sharp, down up to the E. And then I'm going to chromatically go down E, E flat, D, which gets that real like E7 sound. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. That was the last line, and good luck on the solos.